Another important principle is the idea of the open and closed kinetic chain, or shortly open and closed chain. OKC, open kinetic chain, and CKC, closed kinetic chain. So think about a chain, and think about holding a chain in one hand. That would be an open kinetic chain. I'm circling the chain, and the outside of the chain is moving in space. Yeah? While you could say the center, which is here, is staying at the same spot. So that's an open kinetic chain. Another version of the open kinetic chain would be I hold the chain in the middle and the both outsides are moving. So I'm moving it here. Yeah, and there's another version of the open kinetic chain. The closed kinetic chain would be I hold both ends and the inside is moving. So I'm doing this with the chain and the inside is moving in space a lot. This idea is used a lot in strength training as well, where the principle would be paraphrased like this, that an open kinetic chain is when your center is staying at the same spot and the periphery is moving. For example, if I do a curl, center is not moving, periphery is moving. And a closed kinetic chain would be if the periphery stays on the same spot and the center is moving. For example, a push-up. Yeah? In a push-up, my feet and my hands are at the same spot and the center of mass is moving in space. Okay? Something like the chin-up now is a bit discussable what it is, because I'm just having the hands on the floor, but it would be usually called a closed kinetic chain because the periphery here is what's touching, yeah, what is from where you initiate the movements. That's your hands. The hands are touching. From there you can pull yourself up, and the hands are staying on the same spot while the rest of your body is pulled towards the bar. Yeah? Compared to a lat pull down where you sit and you pull the bar towards you, there would be an open kinetic chain because your center is staying at the same spot. You see, sometimes it's a bit more tricky. You have to first understand the principle and think about it in many variations. But now in the SROMP, you could say it gets even a bit more complex, because the center can be at different parts of the body. So here I'm moving in the wrist, as you see, and I'm moving the fingers in space. That's an open kinetic chain. This stays at the same spot. That's the center now. Yeah, although this is also staying at the same spot, but I care about this part here. This is what I'm looking at. This stays at the same spot and the fingers are moved through space, open kinetic chain. And a closed kinetic chain would be if this is fixed in space and the wrist is moving in space. So the easiest is if I create a real closed kinetic chain. I put it here and that's it. Yeah, now it's really close, or someone is holding it, or I hold it, and it's just not moving in space. That's a closed kinetic chain. Yeah, I can also put it on the ground and do a move like this. That's a closed kinetic chain move here, because this is staying there and this is moving in space. What is happening in the SROMP a lot also is that we create fake closed kinetic chains, where the finger is staying at the same spot in this example, but it's not actually touching something. It's coordinatively much harder, but eventually when you practice it with touching the wall, for example, you will get to the point where you can counterbalance it and it will stay at the same spot. Closed kinetic chain, I will get deeper in a later video, because there are many different variations in how we create it. in the interplay between the joints, but generally it's important to understand that in the open kinetic chain, it's usually more stillness happening in the rest of the body. So here you see this is not moving, this is moving, very clear, there will be very clear open kinetic chain. While when I do this, more joints are involved. Now when I am in this position, there is tiny bit of movement in the elbow, there is movement in the shoulder to counterbalance, so more joints are actually moving. Yeah, it's not more joints that are involved necessarily, because in the other one they're also involved, but they're involved at not moving. They're still doing something, but what they do is staying stiff. Okay, so that's why we usually start with open kinetic chain, and from there we go into closed kinetic chain. Because open kinetic chain has this clarity, this simpleness, okay, don't move here, just move here. And closed kinetic chain is more complex and has much more possibilities and variations. All right.